Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go. Hey, what's going on? Coach Luka back here with the Vigor Life Podcast. Today's a special edition. And the special edition it's pretty much like my insights and my learnings and the wisdom that I received from being on the road at some seminars and events that were really powerful. One was the Perform Better Summit in Long Beach, which I've been going, I think this was year number 10 in a row. So the 10th year in a row that I've been in Long Beach for the Perform Better Summit. A lot of it was obviously to learn, but also to help out my good friend Martin Rooney with the Training for Warriors, hands-on. And well, I didn't have to help him with the presentation, but with the hands-on. And the second thing was the 212 event in Denver, which is an event that Adam Bornstein puts on. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this in a little bit, but because that's a high-level entrepreneur event. Absolutely love it. It's got a small group format, and I'll dig a little bit deeper into that. But my first point that I wanted to make was because I keep, I get a lot of messages and a lot of contacts, and just, people are like, hey man, like it's crazy. Like you travel insanely, and you're always somewhere, you're always around. And it's true, obviously, but there's two reasons why I do it. Okay. Actually I'd say probably three, but these are the main reasons. Number one, when I go to events, obviously I go to educate myself. It's like gain the extra edge. If I might be at an event for 2 or 3 days, but there's one presentation that might spark something, right? Like just like an aha moment for me, whatever that may be, something how to improve service in the gym, something for me personally, a marketing campaign, a structure, a future vision of how I want to run the business. Maybe it's something that I could do better with leading my team. And so like one thing could be worth, I don't know, I don't even want to put a monetary price on it, but it could be worth a ton, right? Because if you get that aha moment and you work on implementing it, and you implement it in the next 3, 6, 12 months, I mean, that could be a game changer, So I always get really baffled in why people don't attend events or for instance, judge the event by like, did I get 47 things out of it? And it's like, man, you're not going to implement those 47 things. Really all you need to do is come back with maybe 1, 2, or max 3, but then be really good at like actually taking action on it consistently and making it part of, whether it's your own life or your business or your culture. And that in itself could like that could be the game changer. And there's people that, I talk to so many entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. And it'll always be like this, the one thing that like, they know that there was a catalyst when they started doing one thing, but they started doing it exceptionally well. And in the last episode of the Vigor Life Podcast, we, with Cody, I talked about the people that are very successful in their health and fitness, right? How like they don't do anything crazy. They do these foundational things exceptionally well. And so I'd have you consider that it's the same thing like with business where, you might be like, man, like that really sticks out at me. I'm not doing that. I need to get better at it. And then you spend the next 6 months like diving in and really improving that. And it changes the trajectory of your fitness. Oh, sorry, your business and or fitness, right? So like I'd really have you consider that. Like I don't go to seminars anymore to, try to extract a million things. It's just to extract 1 or 2 that really speak to me. And then I work hard and I write everything around it, like what that means to me, what are the action steps that I'm going to do, and then come back and actually do it. So that's one of the reasons that I travel. So education. Number 2 is building relationships. So I've gone to Perform Better for 10 years in a row because many of the people that I see there are friends, colleagues, peers that I may not see, the rest of the year. Some people I see more often, some less. But then I get to connect. I get to meet new people that are speaking or on a tour, and other friends will introduce me to. So like that in itself, if I didn't even go to one presentation, that would be valuable enough for me to go, right? Is because to either continue building the relationships that I already have and to build new ones that are positive and inspire me, challenge me, and are just quality relationships, right? We talk about environments and the people that we're around and the places that we're around and what we hear, see, feel, touch, that influences our our environment and triggers behaviors in one way or another, right? So I want to be around more people that are doing great things and that are inspiring me in the fields of, personal development, fitness, health, business, marketing, relationships, communication, philanthropy, right? Like I want to be around those people. So I travel to those places knowing that I can continue to build relationships that I already have or new ones. And then number 3 is just experiences. And usually those mold together, right? I mean, you don't have to be around people to have experiences. You can have them yourselves. I encourage that too strongly. But personally for me, like what I enjoy most is the combination of, building relationships and having experiences together. And so, one of the things when I was out at the Perform Better Summit was on Saturday, I ended up taking an Uber from Long Beach to LA to watch the fights. And I'm sure a lot of the world watched the fights, the McGregor and Mayweather fight, which I'm not going to do a synopsis. A lot of people are doing synopsis on the podcast. I'm not an expert. I enjoyed the fight. It was fun. But I went down to Jay's place. He was like, man, come down. I got a bunch of people over. And it wasn't necessarily I would say the easiest thing to do because, I had to Uber down, Uber back an hour each way. And I had to fly out the next morning. And I knew I was going to be out late. But once again, like, you value that relationship and you show with an action that relationship matters. So, went there. A lot of awesome people were there. Obviously, Jen, Jay, Baders Cooney, Jay Jablonski, KJ. I mean, so it was, and a lot of new people that married a paleo chef that I never met before and built relationships with and just got to know them, which was fantastic, right? So it's the point that I'm trying to make here is that, what do your actions show? Because I hear a lot of people like, man, I want to connect. Luka, I want to do a lot more of what you're doing and build relationships. And then I say, okay, cool, man. Like, come out to this event. I'll introduce you to XYZ. Or you come out to this event. It's gonna be awesome. Oh man, I can't do it. I promise you, this is a real thing. Okay, it's I got a golf match. And look, cool. Like maybe you love golf and you got people that you committed to. I'm just saying that like there's a lot of people that say things that they want to do, and then they're like, oh, but I can't do that because I have XYZ. And, but they just told me that they want to achieve either building more connections with people in the industry, learning more, being inspired, getting more mentorship and direction. And then their action goes a different direction, right? So I'd have you strongly like just kind of, check yourself. Like check yourself if you're telling me one thing and saying the other. You got to first of all, you got to come clean with yourself, because I've had I think 20 to 30 messages this week of, man, the Vigor Ground Summit looks unbelievable. I just saw, the schedule on your IG story. It's insane. I'm like, great, man, I'll see you there. I don't know if I can make it this year, right? And look, no judgment on the side of things. Sometimes things do come up or whatnot, but 10 years ago, I was taking out loans to fly to seminars so that I could educate myself and start building this relationship, right? So always think about that, because I think some of the most valuable stuff in life is definitely those 3. Like build relationships, master your craft, which is where the learning comes in, and have experiences. You know what I mean? And I think I talked about this before. I love this analogy of what happiness, right? Imagine that happiness is any color that you can think of, but there's 3 forms of happiness. One is experiential happiness, right? Experiential happiness could be, I don't know, I'm engaged, I'm happy right now shooting this podcast with Gene, right? Or later on, I'm going to be on the dock with my friends. It's Labor Day. I'm going to be hanging out, maybe having a Moscow Mule or something, jumping in Lake Washington. That's going to be experiential. I'm going to be having fun. Like it's moment to moment, right? Like you can have happiness in the moment, right? You could have a shitty day and then you meet a friend and you go and play basketball and you're happy, right? Experiential happiness. The second one is the happiness of grace. And the thing is, experiential happiness obviously could be stuff you love doing, like, I don't know, I'm drawing, right? Or spending time with your friends, which is usually like quality people make you happy. Doing engaging activities that push you. Experiential, that's gonna be good for you, right? It's gonna make you happy. Then you have the happiness of grace, and happiness of grace is just being grateful for the things that you have, right? And I would strongly encourage you to not, it's like being grateful for things that you have. I would even say be grateful for the things that you've done. That's why I love the 3 wins at the end of the day, or the 5 wins, where you write down the things that you've done that moved you forward in life, right? And that, like I said, that thought is, or like, you're happy, you're grateful for the people that are in your life, your relationships, things like that. That creates happiness. And imagine each one of these is a color. So, the experiential happiness is a color. Let's say that's, red, right? Then the happiness of grace is yellow. And then the last one is the happiness of mastery. So like we're just not, if we don't improve and grow in our lives, like you're not going to be happy. Like straight up, like you could have a lot of stuff, but if you don't if you don't expand and grow, that's going to shut your happiness down. So let's say that's a blue or a green, but I don't know which 3 colors are. Remember that you can make any color in the world that exists and doesn't exist out of, I think, 3 colors. Is it, Gene, you remember if it's green? I know it's like red, yellow, and blue, I think. Or red, green, blue. Right, so let's just call those 3. But out of those, so when you can start mixing those 3 up, you can have any experience, like any imaginable, like it's unlimited amounts of experiences, right? So I notice how like the 3 things that I said that I went to these 2 events for are, or 2 out of the 3 are experiential and mastery, right? Being around people, having experiences, and growing and learning. So strongly encourage you to do that. I know I've talked about it before, but I'll never stop talking about it, because just like I'll never stop talking about reading books, right? Why you should read books, because you have insights in other people's brains and how they solve problems. Because look, like we're always solving problems. Like think about this, like you're always looking at solutions, whether it's to make more money, to get healthier, to build a better relationship, to, make a better life for your kids, to teach your kids this, that, right? It's anything that I say is going to be problem-solving thing, okay? And with that said, when you read other people's books, like you are finding out how they solve problems. So, why wouldn't you find out from the best people how they solve problems, or, how they were in the dirt and came out of it because they figured out a way, than trying to do it all yourself, right? Because you don't have enough of a life to try to make all the mistakes in the world and learn from them, right? So, I'm going to keep coming back to that because that's the other cool thing, and I'm really grateful for this, is like that I get messages, on a weekly basis saying, hey, thanks so much for the recommendation of XYZ book or this course or this person or whatever. I got it, I read it, it's amazing, it really helped me out, right? So I'm going to keep ramping on this because I do think those are such important things. And once again, at the beginning I said foundational things, okay? Foundational things as far as building skill sets, building a skill set in nutrition. We talked about that last time in the last podcast. Now we're talking about building skill sets as far as business and building relationships, right? And you definitely want to be at the Vigor Round Summit, because Jay Ferrugia, one of my best friends in the world, man, I love him to death. He's going to be speaking on that, and that's his favorite subject because he was someone that was really call himself a Momo, but it's like someone that didn't connect and was really shy, and not like, or should I say, more of a, people probably say introvert, but somebody with a wall up. And now when you meet and you'd say, hey, man, that guy is like one of the most outgoing people But that was a skill set that he built. I personally think like literally each one of the presentations will be worth its value for money. But I think that's such a critical one because both of us always talk about on the podcast about how building these relationships has influenced our life in so many positive ways. On a personal level, on a health level, on a mindset level, on a giving level, and just on a life level, right? So I'd strongly encourage you to be there for that. Those were my main kind of like, this is why I went to these events, because the second event that I went to was 212, which is put on by Adam. What's great about it is that there's few presentations and keynotes, but there's lots of small group mentoring. So you pick mentors that you get to sit down with for an hour and a half, in small groups of like 5 people, 4 people, 6 people. They get to communicate with those mentors about your own business, life, management, leadership, things like that. And I had a group of a lot of awesome people. CEO of Evernote, Chris O'Neill, Jason Harris from Mechanism, a creative ad agency, which has been my favorite mentor 2 years in a row. Josh Payne from The Hustle, we had I think it's I'm gonna mess up some names here, but Brian from Copy Blogger. I mean, just great stuff. And I basically put down some notes from both events that I wanted to share with you that I think were massive. Kind of some of it was just reiterated things that I knew, but it's like it was once again that kind of punch in the face. You're not doing this, or maybe you need to be doing more of this. And some insights were definitely new. So one of the first things I want to start from was my notes from Perform Better, and you know, I would say Thomas Plummer had a great presentation, but not so. I would say, you know, because I didn't take as many notes. You know, I'm big on ordering courses, DVDs, things like that I go through when it comes to training, and I love hands-on stuff. So I do a lot of hands-on stuff. Obviously, we do a ton of in-staffs and seminars inside of Vigor, but you know, certain things I've gone through. So I go to places where I feel like I can extract the thing that I came for. And usually every year I go and listen to Thomas Plummer. If you know Thomas Plummer, he's kind of like a fitness business industry legend. And I always enjoy his presentations because he's a really good speaker. And I would say, like, you know, you can have great content, but if you don't present it in a infotaining way, or in a persuasive, influential way, then it's going to go by the wayside. And there's a lot of people that have great knowledge, but they don't have great communication, so it gets lost. So there's quite a bit of, actually got quite a bit of aha moments here, but if you see me looking down, it's because I got notes, because man, there's a lot of pages of notes, so that's not all going to be remembered in my brain. But you know, right at the top of the paper, I have something that, man, like I got to keep reiterating this, because we live in a society that I still get a lot of people that want to intern here or that want to succeed in the industry that are like, man, I really want to like succeed in this industry, but you know, I don't know about like working 12-hour days, and I don't know about this, and I don't know about that, and it's just like the mindset right off the bat is broken. And here's why: because I believe that there's no art, there's no beauty without obsession. I just can't see somebody succeeding at the highest level of mastery without being obsessed about their craft. I really can't. Now, you know, at this point in time, if I don't know, started another company, you can do it without working the crazy long hours. But even so, like if you really wanted to push it to a certain level and for it to be ahead of the game and to be at the top of the industry, like how do you do that without obsession? I've yet to be able to answer the question, but the truth is like if you love what you do and you're obsessed with delivering the greatest service, I mean, my obsession is, you know, how do I create the best gym in the world? But so that we can help our clients transform, you know, better, faster, more sustainably, and create an experience and culture that's unmatched, so that we can create a ripple, right? A ripple in the community, so that each person becomes a lighthouse for their family, and then for their community, and then for their jobs and where they work, and for their family and the people that they know, right? And that's how you create a change. And I legitimately, you know, don't know how you can kind of do that without obsession. And, you know, there's a big question that I have to ask you. And that question is like, what the hell are you doing here? Right? What the hell are you doing here? And I mean, really, like at the end of the day, that question is going to be fueled by purpose, right? Like, what are you doing here? I really, truly do believe anything is possible, and that you can create a career that you want to live. But there has to be that spark. Like, you have to be able to answer that question, what the hell are you doing here? And have some obsession behind it. Because guess what? Like, you got to be able to stand out, right? And the only way that you stand out is with excellence, and in some form, or you know, the great thing about it, that there's many ways to be excellent. But you know, let's look at the personal training industry, right? The average personal trainer makes $31,000 a year, working it a lot of hours. Like, it's not a great schedule, you know. So, you know, that was one of the things that we wanted to change at Vigor, is how can our average coach make quite a bit more than that and work less? And we've been able to achieve that with like I said, with a full-time coach. But it's also because, guess what? Like, the goal is to stand out. Now, how are you going to stand out? There's a lot of different ways. But look, I'm gonna break it down. Like, you know, how do the top 20% get it done? So the top 20% do a lot better than that 31,000, right? And so what are some what are some, the theory of outliers? You guys have heard the theory of outliers. But what defines a master coach? And I would agree with a lot of these and add some of my own. And I don't care what industry you're in. I'm talking about coaching right now, but hey, listen, if you're in real estate, I don't know if you're in banking, if you're in whatever, you know what I mean? Like this would go for the same thing for your craft, for your skill, for your industry. But it's, the 1,000 hours for 10 years. It's hard to argue it. I think certain people can achieve it faster. And here's how. I think that me personally, I went at a faster pace because I was just putting so much time into not only coaching, but learning coaching, interning, shadowing, things like that, that I was getting a lot more than 1,000 hours a year. And it was more like 5,000-6,000 hours a year. And I think at this point in time, I'm in like 55,000 hours. And so, and that's just being coaching myself and being in a coaching environment. But I still do think that's the rule. People will argue that there are ways to learn faster, but I still like to believe that, kind of that's a standard, the 10,000 hours. Like it or not, like I said, look, I'm constantly studying things that I say you can learn faster, which I completely agree with. But I think the problem ends up being that if you're chasing this, in 2-3 years, I'm going to be a master. Okay. And then what? Because after 10 years, it's like the people that truly are obsessed with this are always curious enough to keep learning, right? So that's one of the standards. So how do the top 20% get it done? One of them is 1,000 hours for 10 years, right? Or you could break that down and go hey, 2,000 hours for, 5-6 years or whatever, right? Be good at a variety of skill sets. And look, for instance, right now, if I were to say, hey, what are some top certifications, right, that develop these great skill sets? Functional movement screen, anything from Eric Cressy and Mike Robertson, but in precision nutrition. Obviously top-notch nutritional cert level. I would recommend level 1 and 2. They're phenomenal, both of them. Functional strength coach from Mike Boyle. The Strong First Kettlebell certification. But like I said, there's a certain amount and level of certifications that you should have this baseline on. I FRC, functional range conditioning, fantastic. And I could keep going because there's definitely a number of them that you need to be proficient in. But that's not only don't get good at it, become great at it and then keep studying down that route. When you have that, but you can't just be a one trick pony, right? Okay, so if you're great at kettlebell training, but you have no background in change psychology and like I said, coaching nutrition and understanding movement and being able to assess really well, guess what? You're gonna have trouble. You're gonna have a lot of problems because transformation is a series of puzzle pieces put together. It's not just one thing. So that's number 2 is collect and master a variety of certifications, ones that are applicable to your coaching craft. I love, mind map level 1, level 2. I don't know if Dax Moy still does it. That was fantastic. All things that help coaching clients change, right? And another one is what do the 20% have in common? Paying other professionals for a day, volunteering for a week or longer. So different internships, volunteering at schools or programs for experience, hiring a coach to train you. And I'm still doing that in many areas of my life, whether it's mentoring, coaching, checking places out. At the end of October, I'll be flying out with one of my coaches to Eric's gym in Cressy Performance, not only to have my coach learn, but so I'm back in the saddle and just with a kind of like a curiosity, beginner's mind, going in trying to extract as much as I possibly can. Right? You have to be able to consistently do that. The problem is that you go well, yeah, 6 years ago I did that, 8 years ago I did that. Okay, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? That has to be a staple where, you got to humble yourself to continue to learn. Think about the things that you need to be successful and take it to the next level. Coach, some of the things that are not mentioned here, but that I wanted to add are this: high level communication skills, right? Really high level communication skills. And one, being a speaker, presenter, also good writer, right? These are transferable skills that will last you forever and ever and ever, period. And, And this next point, and I kind of outlined this, like fits very well into what I'm going to say. It's not the product or service. It's how you deliver that product or service that will make you successful. And that is experience. And so you see if like storytelling, communication, writing, being good in front of audience, because you're taking them on I would say on a roller coaster, on a journey of transformation, right? Like if you don't have those skill sets, then the product service never comes to fruition. Okay, so you got to put on a show, as Martin Rooney would say, like you got to put on a show, greatest show on earth. And so with that said, think about like, think about Tony Robbins, right? If you went to Tony Robbins' event and he didn't make it, and he obviously knows how to emotionally ingrain knowledge, because he's making people go high and low and telling stories and like taking you through like literally this journey, right? Where you're interacting with other people a lot, where you're thinking about your own life and playing stories in your head, and then he's ingraining these lessons. Now imagine if it was just him sitting on a chair with a really flat, right? Kind of like reading out of a book, and just tonality was like blah, 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 right? Motion creates emotion. Motion creates emotion. So like you gotta be able to like, teach people in different ways, visual, like from hearing it to seeing it to feeling it to touching it, right? Like, so those are the different, and that all kind of flows back into presenting. Right? So I think that as a coach, you can't be a master and great if you don't know how to communicate, if you don't know how to present, if you don't know how to speak and write well. And here's the thing, right? Some people say focus on one. I think you become a better speaker when you become a better writer. I think you become a better writer when you become a better speaker. Those play hand in hand. You can't, obviously you have to learn both, but nonetheless, they still go hand in hand. So on the list of those things that I mentioned, those are critical, right? Because it's not just the workout, it's how the workout is delivered that will set you on fire. Once again, go to two different gyms, go through one workout with one coach and it's delivered one way, and go to another gym and it's delivered a different way. The music is just right and it's going up and down based on the training, based on a coach explaining, you're telling stories. I mean, today was a great example, and I think Gene shot a lot of videos, so we'll probably have a little mini video coming out about it. But we had a Labor Day charity boot camp for Hurricane Harvey relief, raised over $1,000 that we're going to donate through the J.J. Watts Foundation, because I know it'll get in the right hands that way. But it was a roller coaster. So we're doing warm-ups, making people laugh, making people work hard, making people like think, and coaching them with intent so that they have like really good coaching cues, and that they see, wow, like, hey, warm-ups and mobility is a lot of hard work when you do it with intent, right? From there, we explain the training session. Like we have regression. We're really clear on what we're doing, telling another story. Then we go hard, right? Music is on fire. Everybody's getting coached. Even though there's 80 people there, people are getting coached, and not just let them be and just like crush themselves. They're getting coached, right? And that's like a whole different experience. At the end, we all come together. There's a story, right? There's a story, and the story intertwines why people are there, and it makes them emotional, and it makes them connect their hard work and going through challenges to life and what they're seeking and the meaning in they're changing their body, right? Like, guess what? Like that one workout is like a whole different ballgame away from the other workout, where maybe, you're either just smashing them to the ground, you're just cranking the music up, there's no coaching, there's no story being told, it's all flat, or maybe there's like crazy amounts of, coaching, but it's like, but there's no emotional side to it. You see? So like, that's the thing. If it's not, it's the way that it's delivered, right? And then there's a big difference between a workout and actually getting results with a client, right? So, this will kind of bring me back to like putting all these things together. What skills will a future coach need, right? One, not getting married to a single methodology. We kind of touched on that, right? Like you don't want to fall in love with just like, I'm this guy, right? Because then you're stuck. Like it's the same thing as saying, I know, right? As soon as you tell the brain, I know, it stops seeking. So never get married, never get married to just one methodology. Put it this way. focus on a specific long-term career goal. Willing to focus on a specific long-term career goal over time. What I mean by that is like decide what you're going to do, right? And why do I say that? Because at the beginning, it's hard, it's challenging, right? And if you think that, a year or two, because this is what the media and social media tells you, right? Like make 6 figures in the next 6 months. Not saying it's impossible, okay? But it's not likely. If you're starting from the bottom and scratch, people start thinking that that's what's going to happen. And then if it doesn't, you're like, well, fuck it, then I'm out, right? But if you really burn, like if you burn inside for this, you have a passion and a purpose for the industry you're in, make a decision long-term and like pursue it and like keep getting better at it. And guess what? Like if you do the things that I say, like from going to events, to learning, to applying, to listening to the people that came before you, to hiring mentors, and you keep applying and you keep busting your ass, like guess what? Like you will succeed, but it's going to be challenging. So you have to be able to, focus on a specific long-term career and be like, decide who you're going to be, right? Decide who you're going to be and then do that. Another thing is learn to speak, right? We just talked about that. And learn and master branding and marketing for you and your business. Man, I can't say how many people that are great coaches and they go like, but I just don't like business. I don't like selling and I don't like marketing. And I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be hard for you to succeed. Or you're going to have to find a partner that's really good at that and loves that. But even then, I would strongly encourage you to get good at this. Like, look, there's coaching and then there's the business of coaching. Those are two different things, right? Because one is sales and marketing and systems and fulfillment and leadership and management and team training, understanding numbers, understanding, like I said, how to create content and create funnels and things like that, and understanding the psychology of things, right? And look, that's just the way it is. I'd love to give you the pitch of, just learn it in a weekend. No, it doesn't happen. Like you have to learn to master that stuff just as much as you do the coaching. And it takes more time and energy, but it's worth it, right? Down the line, it's worth it, period. And then here's another one, like simply be more professional in everything that you do in your life and work, right? Every aspect, right? I mean, set the tone. Be the most professional out of everyone. From the way that you look to the way that you dress to the way that you breathe, walk, act as a professional coach. And with that all said, like you got to decide who you're going to be. So for instance, at Vigor, we don't have like this crazy dress code. We got these nice Vigor ground like coaching shirts, and we have some rules and boundaries. But that doesn't mean, like when I say act a professional in every way, it doesn't mean that you have to be really stuck up and have shiny shoes and stuff like that. But think about that, like being early and not just on time, but just being early, being prepared, being sharp. Your communication, the going above and beyond, like the little things. And like I said, not just in your professional life, but also in your personal life. Like how do you operate in the world? What do you do when no one's looking? Because guess what? There's always someone looking, or things always get found out. So who are you at the highest level of those things, right? Every year, more and more education. So this is the next point. Like every single year, you should be educating yourself. You decide what that is. Maybe you put certain things a little bit on the back burner, or like you don't put them on the back burner. You still learn, but you bring them down a little bit. And from this podcast, you go like, you know what? I need to get better at speaking. I need to get better at marketing. It's incredible to me when people go like, no, I've worked on marketing a little bit. Like, okay, so tell me, what have you done? And it's like, well, I've read a couple blogs and stuff. Man, like imagine if I talked to you the same way about training. Oh, well, I read a couple blogs on training and I started coaching clients and that was it. Like you'd be like, you're crazy, right? Like you got to basically study books, like study people that are doing it well, take a course, hire a marketer, even if it's sometimes for consulting, then apply that stuff, right? And then you learn from it, right? You can reflect on it, you learn from it, and you course correct. But every year you got to have more and more education. And like I said, like I am obsessed about this. We talked about this. This year we'll have 12 different in-staffs and or seminars at our gym. That's not my in-staffs that are weekly, right? So, or the team's in-staff. So we'll have at least 40 to 50 of those, but we'll have on average one a month where somebody else, one of the top coaches in industry, whether it's nutrition, training, movement, different methodologies, will be here at Vigor Ground teaching. And that's not counting the Vigor Ground Summit, which is 17 different speakers coming in, right? So obsessed with it. It's a way of life. And you have to make it a way of life in your business, whatever your business is, because like I said, that creates a foundation of growth. It can't just be like, well, last year we did 1 or 2, so this year we're not doing it. No, it just has to be all the time. It just has to be part of it. And I would say, like, make education part of your daily habit, right? So in the morning when I get up, I walk the park, I listen to a podcast. Not every day, almost every day. I read anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half daily, every single day. And weekends, that usually gets to 2 and 3 hours a day. Sit on the dock, read for 2-3 hours. It's my downtime. It's my woosah time. I still read 2 books a week on average. And like I said, it's not stressful. It's part of my life and I enjoy it. I'm not saying you need to do that much. I'm just saying, like, if you're doing none of it, you need to start doing some of it. If you read a book a month, maybe you should read 2 a month, right? Like, on the subject that are going to make you better, period. Give a lot back to the community. I can't talk enough about that. And actually, I'm going to kind of gel these two together because one of the things, the things that I love about like creative advertising, it's storytelling, right? It's pretty much old school storytelling through new mediums like social media, through video, through things like that. I mean, big reason why, we do a lot of stuff with Gene, and I mean, Gene's part of the family pretty much. And, because we want to tell stories through video, because people learn better that way. But giving back to the community, to tie this in, to giving back to the community, I think every small business, not every gym, but like every small business in America should have some type of, I would say, approach to giving back in some way, in some form, to some organization. And I would have you consider that it's one of the best marketing strategies too. Now, you have to come from a place of, I would say, of philanthropy and giving. If you're going like, hey, we're going to do this giving thing just so it can bring us more people, here's, at the end of the day, look, if you're doing good, I don't give a shit. Like, if you copy us so that you do more good, I could care less. But when it comes from the right place, I think you'll do a lot better stuff. And, for me, the book, The Go-Giver, changed my mindset. And that's why, like, over 9 years ago, I started doing the charity bootcamp. So we're getting close to the 500 number. So 500 charity events with over $100,000 donated in some way or another, thousands of toys, tons of clothes, and tons of food over the last close to 10 years. So I'm proud of that. And, one of the things that I talked to Jason Harris about, which is, like I said, he runs a company called Mechanism, which is incredible. And it was about like a make good, they do 10% of their work is pretty much pro bono, essentially, for these great projects that help and give back. And it just made me realize like how we need to not only like we have the potential to do more good, but we need to share more of what we're doing through storytelling and who we're doing it for, right? And how our clients, which they are the heroes. Like, every time they show up for our charity events, like, they're the heroes. They're helping somebody out. They're having fun. They're having a great workout. They're bringing in their friends, and they are helping someone in need that we're able to then, donate to. And, start with, I don't care what it is, but do charity events. If you're not doing them weekly, like we are, then you know what? Do them monthly, do them quarterly, but do them. Make them, can't miss events. And I'm going to do a little promo while I'm here at the Vigor Ground Summit. It's a 3-day event. So the first day, it's all hands on at the Vigor Ground gym. Then it's 2 days at the Hyatt Regency, beautiful hotel on the water. We have 16 speakers. They're going to present on those 2 days. But on the first day, when we have the hands-on sessions, I have a little surprise for everybody that's going to come out to that. And we're throwing a humongous charity boot camp with live DJs right at the end of the hands-on at 5 p.m. We're gonna continue to send the money to the J.J. Watts Foundation for the Hurricane Harvey relief for our brothers and sisters out there in Texas that are struggling and going through some crazy stuff. But I wanted people to see what we do and how we do it and how much of an impact it makes and how it can shine such a positive light on your business. And so, it's just a win-win-win-win situation. Like everyone wins, like your clients wins, your business wins, you're fulfilled by it. And the people that, you're helping win. So, like if you take one thing out of this, I don't care if you're an individual, if you have a business, get more involved. It'll change your life. Giving to others will change your life, period. I used to be a knucklehead. I used to take from people when I was young. I used to do a lot of dumb shit. Giving back is something that absolutely changed my life. So, you want to, like, that has to become a foundation. Really, it really has to. And at the end, like, man, pick who you're going to be. Are you going to be a great owner? Are you going to be a great coach? You're going to be a great employee. Pick one and become the greatest in the world. Pick one and become the greatest in the world. I still to this day have a 4x5 card in my pocket that, whenever I'm coaching, it's like, what would the greatest coach in the world do? And it reminds me that. And, I went from a coach to an owner. So I do admit that I dibble dabble in those two. But I just take on more and I learn more, but I do want to continue to be the greatest coach in the world and the greatest owner in the world. Yep. It's a little crazy, but it is what it is. With that said, like to tie all these things together, every 3 months, 12 weeks, 90 days, whatever you want to call it, I strongly encourage you to, sit down and write out what you want. Like, write out what you want. What do you want? What do you want in every area of your life? And then create a plan. Spend 4 hours every 3 months, write it down, get clear, get a target, and just write, like, this is where I want to go. But the thing is, like, focus on long, but go short, right? Focus on long, but go short. What I mean by that is like there's a North Star that guides us all. I mean, hopefully you found it, but that's that big vision. I talk about Vigorville. A while back, this building was my vision. And now we've built that, and now we're the North Star is like completely changing the renting community, buying other buildings, creating restaurants that have healthy, affordable food, that do meal delivery, to co-working, wellness spaces, to you name it. There's a big vision behind all this. And that's the North Star. But like, that's going to take, this is what I'm saying, like, focus on that, because that's the long game, right? Like, that might take 10 years. I don't know, like 7, 10, 12, who knows? Right. But that's guiding me, right? It's guiding me, like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to become as a business? But then focusing, but go short. That's those 90 days, those 12-week blocks, getting really clear on where you want to go and the plan to get you there. People don't do that enough. They just don't, period. You start doing it and you kind of fall off. And you have to revisit it. Number one, because it's always changing. You have to course correct. And it just gives you, I would say, a trajectory. Without a trajectory, it's very difficult to essentially figure out where you're going and what path to take. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? The cat asks Alice, where are you going to go? And she's like, I don't know. Well, then any place will take you there. And I think that's the problem, is that people don't know. Like, they don't set a course, right? You got to know where you're going. Like, if you don't know what you want, no one can help you, right? What's the expected outcome? And there's too many people that I talk to that they don't have a clear expected outcome. So then, any path will take you there, but then there's going to be frustration because then you start feeling anxiety, uncertainty, and you get lost around that. So, and to bring this all together, at least this first part, I got a couple other notes from 212 that I wanted to share with you guys, but is that my dream is a reality that I just haven't got to yet. My dream is a reality that I just haven't fulfilled, right? So that it's already real, but it's out there, right? I just got to keep building those bricks to get there. So it's something that, I write out these things that like just pop out at me, that really help me kind of focus and hone in on the things that I want to achieve. But that's one that really stuck out at me, right? I've always done well with a vision, with a North Star, and then just chipping away at it, and not necessarily getting frustrated when it doesn't, because I think people fall off because they have this expectation of how long it's going to take. Oh, it's going to take a year, but then it takes 3. I talked about this before. You think it's going to take 5, but it takes 10. Man, if you're really about that, right? If you're obsessed, like I said at the beginning, about and you know the answer to the question about what am I doing here, just remember that your dream is a reality that you just haven't got to yet, but it's going to take work. So yeah, it's going to take work. And, you know, I think that like when you start thinking in a way of, you know, I always ask people, like, how many corners are you willing to turn? You know, how many corners are you willing to turn to achieve this, you know, this dream, this vision that you have? And, you know, honestly, that like there shouldn't be a number attached to it. What I mean by that is like, you're going to turn 5 corners or 10 or 100. And, you know, my answer's always been all of them, right? All of the corners, like who are, you know, what are the books I need to read? What are the courses I need to take? Who are the mentors I need to hire? What environments do I need to put myself in to achieve this? You know, who do I have to become? Like, who do I have to become as a human being to be able to do the things like build the business, lead the team, lead the city? Like these are the things that I think about, but not only think about, I write them down, right? So we talked about every 3 months sitting down for 3 to 4 hours to map out the trajectory of where you're going. These are the things that I'd write down, right? Like, you know, what do you need to get better at? What skill set do you need to build? And then what are the resources that you're gonna have to go after? And I'm gonna finish off like where every time I do this, I notice that I have a lot more to say than I thought, right? But it's gonna tie into like, you know, 212, right? So, you know, at 212, which is a really, really high level event, I strongly encourage you to go there and to kind of give you the reason why it's called 212, right? At 211 degrees, water doesn't become steam yet, right? It boils, but it doesn't become steam. And at 212, it does. So it's that 1 degree, right? It's every degree up to 211, it doesn't. But once it goes from 211 to 212 degrees, it turns into steam, which obviously creates energy, creates power, creates transformation. There's a transformation there. So, you know, Adam named it that because the event is the catalyst, right? So it's how to take you from that 211 to 212. And I'd say, you know, the thing once again that I get the most out of, you know, that event is one, building the relationships, and connecting with people that are doing amazing stuff and getting their insight. You know, when you're talking to, you know, people like Tim Ferriss and Noel Kagan and Josh Payne and Josh Harris. And I mean, I could keep going, you know, I mean, there's just insights on how they've done things and also, you know, their businesses, or how they would, you know, what they would do with your business, that are very eye-opening, you know, so I had a ton of notes from that. But it keeps coming back to this. Okay. So, one of the things is that, you know, content, and I've talked about building your brand, before, but I'm going to do a quick snippet of it here. Okay. Think about content and building your brand from a standpoint of building relational equity, right? Just like in a true relationship, face to face, you know, you build relational equity by doing 4 things. You make people laugh, you make people cry, you make people feel, and or you give value in advance. And I think that last one, giving value in advance, is one that you could do the most of. So like I said, whether it's something like this, a podcast, sharing my thoughts that I've, you know, things that I took away from seminars, or specific content, which, you know, sometimes I'll sit down for hours and go over what I'm going to talk about. You know, that's delivering value. Writing blog posts on specific subjects to help you with the how-to, or maybe are a punch in the face and make you realize the why, or create awareness. And, you know, from infographics to seminars, you know, speaking, writing emails, and like doing infotainment, right? Entertaining with education. You know, those things all build relational equity, right? You're giving value to someone. And I'm sure I missed some out, like, you know, like writing a book, doing videos, you know, all those different things that give the marketplace value and, one, build their confidence and self-esteem, and then help them get there. Because the thing is, like, when someone is reading or learning from you, right? Even if you've never met them, you connect. I do. I know that the people that I follow, I feel the same way about it, right? Like, I'm very grateful for when I read someone's content or buy their course, or you know, especially stuff that's free, whether it's a blog, and I learn stuff, man, I love it. Like, that brand has created equity with me. You know, so whenever that brand asks, like, for me to buy something, I don't feel I'm like, man, that's awesome. They have something for me to buy. Like, great. Like, they already built so much equity. I want that. Like, I want to learn more on that end. I want them to help me get further. And it's the same way with your brand. And I say that as I go around the country speaking, learning, consulting, it's the one thing that I just don't see enough of. Honestly, it's people are not putting enough. It's the same thing as if face to face, you met with someone and you try to go too fast, right? Like, you meet a girl for the first time and you're like, all right, what's the name of the kid's going to be? It's like, that's going to freak them out. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to deliver value, build relational equity, and take that step after step after step. Now, there's a faster way to do it, but I'd have you consider that that's where a lot of value lies for your business. And it's crazy because there's all these businesses that I talk to as well now outside of the realm of fitness that are like, well, but in our industry, people aren't doing that. I'm like, fuck, man, that's the best thing ever. Like, if nobody's doing, like, you should jump full throttle in. And so I strongly encourage you to do that, to build, like, to really start coming out with content. And I know why it happens. Remember, we're going back and I said how the culture of the future, the skill sets they're going to have to build is speaking and writing, right? Because if you feel, you don't feel confident about your message and you're scared because of persecution and judgment and stuff like that, that's something you have to get over, and you got to start doing it every day. You got to start writing. I mean, whether it's, whether it's even in a journal, like, but you release something every week. It doesn't have to be daily. It can be every week. Like, start building that relational equity in the marketplace and sharing more of yourself. Also, your struggles, your kind of like success stories, but more so of your clients, because remember, like, your business is not the hero. This is actually the presentation I'm having at the Vigor Ground Summit. Your business is not the hero. Like, you're the Yoda. Okay. The hero is your client. And that's not like a marketing ploy. That's what it is. Like, the heroes are your clients. And, but you're the mentor. You're there to take them to their Everest. Right. So remember that. And, just, Tim Ferriss says something that I keep bringing up is this, right? The only uncrowded market is great. Think about that, right? I'm pausing there. Like, the only uncrowded market is great. And, like, if you want to build a take a bullet for you type of following, you have to do the last 5%. So a lot of people take it to 70% and 80%, 90%, but you gotta take it past 95. That last 5%, it's basically the 5% that, or should I say, it's the things that only the 5% do, right? The blog post that you spent 30 hours on, 40 hours on. I know I have an example. Like, there's one I'm dropping next week that's 24,000 plus words on nutrition, right? Started as hey, it's gonna be 2,000 to 3,000. Now, I'm not saying you got to write a 24,000 word article because that's like a book, but I'm saying, like, putting the extra work in, like spending 20 hours, preparing for a presentation that's got 80 slides and it's really helping people out, and then recording it and putting it online and chopping it up. Like, these are the things, like, but at the same time, it's also, I would even say, don't start necessarily with just writing. Start with, like, how you treat people. Are you in that great, like, I would say the uncrowded market that's great in how you treat people, like how you communicate with people, how you over deliver. Like, I really love the 70-30 rule. 70-30 rule is, tell people 70% of what they're going to get, and then 30% surprise them. And, just to get this straight, like, I'm far from, doing any of this perfect. I fuck up all the time, like all the time. Right. And try to always make it better and fix it and learn from it and reflect on and what I personally and we as a team have done wrong so that we can get better. But at the end of the day, like, that's my obsession, right? An obsession to be number one in the 5% of, like, how we treat people, and then how we coach, right? And then how we lead a company, and then how we provide marketing and things like that. And so, ask yourself, what is that 5%? And the cool thing about it is that you don't have to, you don't have to, I would say, invent anything new as far as that goes, because there's so many examples of the people that are doing the 5%, right? There's so many examples. Like, you want to, it's not hard to find the people that have millions of downloads on podcasts, right? That have, that are incredible writers and are doing great stuff, that are, doing great things on social media. You want to find out top coaches and how they coach, go to their facilities. Hey, pay for sessions, pay for their mentoring, right? I mean, I don't know where you are, but there's definitely a next step that you can do. There's definitely, go intern. Like like I would intern in a jiffy right now, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week if I had to, if I wanted, if there was like a craft, a skill set or something that I wanted to make better and it was an opportunity there for me, and most people say, well, but shit, like, well, you don't have time for that. Well, you make time for that, right? If you really want to get better at something, I got people going like, oh man, unpaid internship. I'm like, damn, like, if I was doing an unpaid internship with Robert De Niro on acting, man, I would do fucking like 80 hours unpaid a week, and shit out and work the rest of the time. Like, man, you take those opportunities and you jump on them, right? So you got to start shifting that framework and find out what the top 5% is, and the other thing, and this is just like kind of like my personal preference too when it comes to marketing and branding, and is the sentence of like, do what is the most unexpected that I can afford. And you'll probably, see some more of this coming out from Vigor Ground and my personal brand. But not only is that like, it makes me innovate and push and like really kind of learn and not do things the way that other people are doing. But just doing things that are uncommon makes them fun. It's like you have to be engaged and you have to be excited about the things that you're doing. And a lot of times, like doing the same stuff that works is great, but you also want to push and innovate and find new ways, not just because you want to differentiate yourself from the rest in the marketplace, but also personally, like to push those boundaries and learn more and challenge yourself more. So I'd encourage you to do that, like to step out, make your box bigger, step out of the box, whichever one works better for you, but be different, because the truth is, everybody talks about authenticity, but how does that show up? And you got to explore yourself first to be able to find, I would say, new avenues for your business. Because otherwise you end up looking at everybody else and trying to copy them. Well, there's nothing wrong, right? Because like Yoshi Yamamoto said, copy, 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 and you shall find yourself. And when I was younger, that's what I did, right? Like the cookbook approach. You get the cookbook and you learn from the cookbook and make the recipe, and then as you master all those skill sets yourself, you become a chef, right? You make your own recipes. But I encourage you to keep digging deeper about like who you are as a person and as a business, because when you find, those values that, the code or should I say the core, Chris O'Neill talked about this. And like I said, Evernote is a humongous company. They have 400 million users. It's pretty nuts. But the definition of core, the noun, is the central or most important part of something, right? And so take the time to define your core, like your vision, your mission, your values, your strategy, your objective, right? I mean, I can't tell you like how many people don't do that. And it's just like, you're just, moving around in a fog, hoping that you find a target that maybe you haven't even set, right? But take the time to define your core, right? What are your vision, mission, and values? And your vision is your dream and your true north, right? And keep it simple, keep it short, keep it inspiring, but find it. And like I said, start there. Man, I got a lot more for you, but I think that was the core of the things that I took away. Like there was I'll probably end up doing another one that's all about some of the new training stuff and principles, I guess, that we're implementing and changing, and maybe some things that I've my thought process that I've changed over the years when it comes to training. But on the end of the mindset and the driving and purpose to achieve, greatness in whatever you're doing, these were some things that really stuck out at me and that I wanted to share with you guys. Because I travel a lot and we have a lot of, I would say, speaking and learning that I do. I'm going to start sharing this stuff with you more, because that's the things that like I get a lot of messages about, like, hey, what do you think about this? Share some stuff that you've learned from, the books, the traveling, so on and so forth. So with that said, guys, look, there's only weeks left. From the time that you're going to hear, there's going to be 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks left for the Vigor Ground Fitness and Business Summit. In about a week and a half, 2 weeks, we're going to bump up the prices again. I mean, honestly, look, if you live in the Pacific Northwest, for you not to be there, it's crazy. Straight up. If I see you in the street and I know you weren't there and you knew about it, I'll call you crazy to your face. 16 of the top speakers in the world, presenting on coaching, culture, marketing, sales, systems, fulfillment, culture. I mean, you name it. And we're going to have a hands-on section. It is insane to not be there. Like if you don't make, your money back 10x in like 2 months, 3 months, if you apply the stuff that you learn, I would be, very, very surprised. But like I said, I just talked about, how you get ahead in your life and in business. And this is it. So go to vigorgroundsummit.com. Like I said, the rates are still really, really good right now. Sign up. I'll see you there. If you got any questions, shoot them my way. And as always, we love a positive review. Like I said, be real. If you go to the iTunes page, shoot us a 5 stars. Really appreciate that. Look, it's the more stars it has, the more reviews it has. At the end of the day, it spreads more people can hear this message. And if in one podcast there's an aha moment for somebody that makes them do something, man, that's fantastic. And that can be a catalyst for change. So, go over to iTunes, give a 5-star rating, write your review. Really appreciate it. I mean, at the end of the day, I do this for you guys. I'm very, very grateful. Love and appreciate you for tuning in, for listening, for sharing this, and spreading the word of the Vigor life, taking yourself to another level. And I will see you next time, or I'll see you if you're watching on YouTube, but otherwise you'll hear me on iTunes. Coach Luka's out. Love you.